and I welcome you to yet another episode of Campus Chronicles. As usual, people are looking for things to do when schools closes, internships, businesses, jobs, etc. We want to bring you closer to that. Today we are hosting Mr. Jephason Kalengo. I hope I got that right, sir.
Yeah.
I got it right?
Yeah.
Yes, he's a youth activist working with refugee support programs. Am I right?
Sure.
You're welcome, sir, to the studio.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Excited.
Okay, so can you just tell us a little more about yourself, what you do, who you are? Just let us in.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. My name is Kalengo Jephason. I am an advocate, specializing in refugee migration and laws of armed conflict. I'm a fourth-year law student at the University of Zambia.
Beautiful.
And I work with different institutions. I'm alumni of the Training Center for Development Cooperation from Tanzania, TCDC, which builds capacity of young people in climate justice and forced displacement programs. Lastly, I run, together with my team, a program called Justice Lab Zambia under Action and Global Platform, which is an initiative that's championing refugee rights and also humanitarian issues in fragile contexts.
Okay, that was a lot in such a short time. Okay, but because we are running behind time, we'll just dive right into the questions. Okay, your first question is, what led you in the journey of working with refugee-related issues? So was it something that you have always been passionate about, or you were inspired by somebody? What really led you to do this?
But by nature, everyone is a refugee.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, maybe before we go deep,
say who is a refugee,
exactly,
right?
Who is a refugee?
So a refugee is someone who leaves their country and stays in another country due to various reasons. It might be war, it might be fear for persecution, it might be lack of resources, it might be any reason, but they leave their country and they abandon their nationality. So, for example, you get married, then you leave your mother's house and you go to your husband's place, a refugee, because you abandoned your own identity, right?
Okay, but is it, from what you've spoken, it sounds all negative. Due to war, due to what? So let's say I get employment outside my home country, then I go and start working that side.
No, you're a refugee.
Okay, so it's on the negative.
You're leaving negative, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Then what made me start to do work on refugee, it's because if you look at different reports, they indicate that over 130 million people have left their countries. It might be the DRC neighboring, it might be Sudan, it might be countries like in the European countries. They're leaving their homelands. Why? Because of different issues. There's war everywhere. In Sudan, people are fighting every day.
Yeah.
So these individuals are leaving their homes and trying to find a greener pasture. And these areas become a macrocosm. I call it a macrocosm. A macrocosm is an example of one thing that represents the larger part.
Okay.
So people leave their own countries in a quest to find a better life. For example, in Zambia we have 3 refugee camps: the Mayukwa, the Maheba, and the other one. So we only have 3 in Wapula, Western Province, and the other one. So you find that in these areas, Zambia is hosting over 100,000 refugees. Why are they here? They're hoping for a better life.
Yeah.
So they need individuals like me, individuals like you can begin to advocate for policy change, law reform, anything that makes their life better. They are on the run.
Okay, so we can safely say it's a passion. You've had it.
Yeah, it's passion.
Oh, you developed it over the years, or because you are a law student?
And over the years.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. So, what's your vision or hope for the future of refugees in Zambia and Africa at large?
Firstly, if you look at what governs refugee life, is quite broad. From 1951, the United Nations came up with a convention on the status of refugees, which was followed up by the 1967 Refugee Protocol. Then we have the organization of the African Union Convention on Refugees, which is now the African Union Commission. Then we have different protocols, the Zambia's Refugee Act of 2017, and different laws that govern refugees. But the question is, how are these laws being implemented? Because the law can be made, but its implementation is another subject. So how are these refugees being able to be given a platform, whether in Zambia or in Congo, or in Mali, in South Africa, to begin to develop their life away from their homeland? And my vision and my team's vision is to see a situation where refugees can be given different platforms to perform their talent, different areas to start enjoying life economically, because as we speak now, refugees stay in remote areas and they can't have access to economic activities. So the tomorrow we want to see is a situation where refugees can be given a platform where they can be educated, they can begin to participate in economic activity and begin to engage just as normal individuals of the state. And of course, a Zambia or Africa where there is no xenophobia. If you look at South Africa's xenophobic attacks, it's because of refugee situations.
Great. Oh, so I don't mean to pry, but do you have sponsors? People that sponsor your activities or things that you want to do? Do you have that yet, or you're still working towards it?
We have partners. So we work with the United Nations Commissioner for Refugees, the Office of the Commissioner for Refugees and the Office of Home Affairs, Caritas Zambia, Action Aid.
Oh.
Yeah, so different partners.
You guys are quite big. You don't want me on your team?
We're bidding.
Okay. What have you learned in the journey? Tell us the most important lesson. So far, what have you learned in all of this? And what has been your most important or your take-home lesson from all of this?
My take-home lesson is that no one cares out there. No one cares.
Really?
It's government. And the church does, but everyone is just pretending to care, but they are in for what they can get from it. The situation, even war. When there's war and people come in to help, they don't really care about the people. They care about what they get out of it. That's why you find that even donors are willing to just get reports on how much they affect people in Congo. Is that a really big deal? Yeah. So no one really cares about the situation, but some do. Then also for the lessons is that for Africa is too fragile. Africa is in a fragile state. Why? Because most African countries are in war. There is no stability in terms of economic stability, or it might be peace or conflict. And if you look at the near future, there will be more refugees coming in, not only in Zambia, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe. Why? Because there are these homeland like Congo. The war continues. Why? Because there are emergencies like the energy just transition, where the war prospects are increasing. Yeah. There'll be more war.
There's gonna be more war. Yeah. So schools have closed, right, for a few weeks at least. Are you guys recruiting? Do you want volunteers or workers, and what should be their area of expertise? Like somebody like me, maybe I'm interested to want to be part of you guys. Are you guys recruiting? What are your requirements? What areas should they, Are you guys doing that?
Yeah, looking for a team. I only work with a few individuals, maybe about 3 or 4.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm willing to work with anyone who is available to offer themselves and work around issues with refugee, migration, humanitarian issues, and also issues to do with armed conflict.
Okay.
Yeah, so there must be passion, because there are times when there's no money, and when there's no money, what happens?
Exactly.
You run away. Yeah. So.
Okay. So how do we go about it? How do people go about it? Do you have social media handles? Where are you guys found?
So we can find us. We are located at Action 8 Global Platform Zambia, which is opposite in Reto of Zambia. Plot 5777 Kalundu.
Okay.
Or you can reach us through Justice Watch Africa, because remember, Justice Lab Zambia, it's a lab. Okay. So what's the use of the lab? You take particles or chemicals for a reaction. So we take justice in a lab to begin to examine its content. You get what I mean? So Justice Lab is an initiative under Justice Watch Africa. So Justice Watch is an organization. Okay. So you can search on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Yeah, then you can get in touch with us.
Okay. Enough of the serious business. I think we should take a breather. Yeah, we're gonna go on a break. Not breaking from the show really, but we're going to have fun. Do you love having fun?
Yeah.
I love having fun. So, usually on Campus Chronicles, we have what we call the Trivia Challenge, where we get to have a little bit of fun, just to breathe. I've got a few questions for you, away from the seriousness. These are just general questions. I want to see how fast you can be able to process and get the answers right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question in the Trivia Challenge is, which former president rebased the Zambian kwacha?
That's my president.
Beautiful. Yes, you got it right. Unfortunately, we don't have money to give out, but Yeah, so we're just breathing and taking. Yeah. The second question is, who was the first Zambian vice president?
Who's the best?
Zambian vice president.
That's crazy.
I know.
I don't know.
You don't want to try? You don't want to guess?
I'm Gombra.
No. So yeah, the first Zambian vice president was Ruben Kamanga.
Bro.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes, please. Who became the president after Frederick Chiluba?
After?
Frederick Chiluba.
It was an MD, so likely it was one was.
Of course, you got it. What inspired the name of the country Zambia?
What inspired?
The name of the country Zambia. Where did the name come from?
I don't really know. I don't even give us his name. It's only the white guys.
Yeah, but then where did it come from? Like, what really inspired it?
Looking, I don't know.
Oh my goodness. So what inspired the name of the country Zambia is the Zambezi River. Come on.
I think we did that.
We did. Yeah, we did. Okay, so the last but not the least, which former president is famously remembered for competing against a frog in general elections?
Of course, it's the mighty KK.
Of course. Wow. So that's all we have for the trivia challenge, and you did so well. You literally got one wrong.
Yeah, so you guys owe me like
we
some
do.
Cash.
We owe you some cash. Don't worry, we'll get in touch. Okay, so before we go to our last segment, which is our last set of questions, we're going to take a break. Yeah, and we'll be back shortly. Hello and welcome back to Campus Chronicles 91.7 on Unza Radio, and I've been your host, Jay. For those that are just joining us, of course, I am here with Mr. Kalengo. Yes, I'm here with Mr. Kalengo, and we're talking all things refugees. It's been amazing. Unfortunately for you who is just joining us, we are actually in the last segment of the show. So now back to business, Mr. Kalengo. Where do you see yourselves and your work in the next 5 years?
Number one, we have to be a think tank in Southern Africa, and also to provide global leadership in terms of refugee migration research data, and also consultants services with regards to conflict issues, humanitarian principles, and research. I think that's a basic one. Then also maybe second one, maybe just to provide also capacity trainings to students who are really interested to study refugee and migration law.
Oh, there's that?
Yes, because UNZA has refugee law.
Oh.
Yes. But Zambia has no much precedence in terms of refugee issues. But we can also maybe to establish a base where we can have access to data on refugee status, issues, laws, policies, global conventions, and those.
Okay, I'm not sure if we talked about this, but are you like the chairman? Are you the head?
Yeah, I'm the founder.
You're the founder.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I also didn't mention I do military and aviation law. So the Indian plane crash is my interest area, and also the Israeli-Iran attacks.
Really?
Those are my fantastic fantasies at this.
Story for another. I was about to actually start asking questions. What happened? What's going on? All right. Yeah. Okay. So, could you tell us about the challenges you face or faced in establishing your work? And this should be a little detailed.
Yes. Number one is that we champion a movement that brings young people together. But of course, you understand. I don't know if you do. If you don't, you're gonna understand later. Is that young people are difficult to work with because number one, they don't lack just like professional ethics. They lack also commitment to things that can move their community forward. So that's a big challenge. If you can't have young people who are willing to learn and provide leadership at the personal level, because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead the community. That's the first problem. Then secondly, how do you find partners? Because in these spaces, you can't go as a young person, you have to go as a qualified individual seeking partnership. Not to claim that, no, me, I'm young, give me a platform. No, there are no platforms for young people. That's a mystery. It's a story for another day. It's politics. These spaces need people, whether young or old, who are qualified, who know what they're doing, who have the content, who have read. You get it? Thirdly, how do you engage and find yourselves in these spaces? Because in Zambia, for example, refugees, if you want to do a refugee program, you have to go to Southern Province or Northwestern or Wapula, and it's far. So how do you find partners who can give you these resources so that you're able to move and go in those far-fetched areas? So that's a challenge also. Then fourth, Zambia lacks better institutions that do research on refugee, humanitarian, or even armed conflict issues. Because we have no institution in Zambia that provides armed conflict law. Yeah, because Zambia has no war at the moment. But yeah, so
one would be exciting, don't you think?
So among those, but the others, but those are the major ones.
Oh, okay. So, how do you plan on overcoming these challenges?
For the young people, one way those who are available, who are willing to learn and engage.
Yeah.
Don't force. It's what's forced marriage, Secondly, for the partners, we engage those who are available. And for example, the UNHCR, they are available. Caritas is there to provide mentorship, provide guidance, leadership. So some patterns are there, and of course we have to organize ourselves as a team and appear on the table as qualified people, not as people who are seeking sympathy like relationships. No. So yeah, you get what I mean. So we have to build capacity internally, then begin to compete at the global level.
Beautiful, beautiful. Last but not the least, tell us what you think would make a better UNZA overall. Just overall, what do you think UNZA can improve on? What areas? What do you think would make it better?
Okay, let me just mention that I've been working with institutions like Japan Foundation. Yes, it's an NGO that does litigation in Zambia. And one of the cases I told them that I need to do sooner or later, is to sue the University of Zambia and develop a case, a human rights violation case.
I didn't see that one coming.
Before the High Court. Why? Because you can't tell me that the sanitation for the University of Zambia can remain the way it is, even if
for years,
for years. Yeah. Those are politics. It's a politics. So the University of Zambia needs to pull up its game. Yes, that's the first thing it can do better. You can't say you're the highest institution yet you have no proper evolution blocks. Those are politics. Then secondly, the University of Zambia can fundraise resources for research, because remember, a country can't develop if there's no research.
Yeah, that's
because if you're developing, what are you developing on? That's why we are lacking. We are very behind in terms of research. Then second, the University of Zambia should paint its buildings, because if someone comes here from Afghanistan or maybe from Sudan, they might think that they're still there, because it looks like just survived some bombings.
Somebody told me they've got some meaning. The way the buildings are.
There's no meaning.
They've got this meaning.
Which meaning is that?
That's what I've always known.
But we can do better.
Okay. All right. That brings us to the end of our show.
Yeah, so Refugee Week starts today.
Okay.
The theme is Community as Superpower, offering solidarity to refugees. Supposed to happen on Friday, World Refugee Day, 20th of June. Then it has been moved to next week, Wednesday, because of the morning period.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Then, so let's just to mention that June, July, August, it's a month of consecutive 3 months of humanitarian actions. So 20 June, it's World Refugee Day. 31st July is World Day Against Human Trafficking. Then 19th of August is World Humanitarian Day. When there's war in the country, refugees begin to run, right? When they run, they are prone to trafficking. When people are being trafficked, we need to maintain action again. So it's
a connection. Yeah. All right, that's all. Do you have any other last words for our audience? Any other last words of encouragement? Just anything.
What I can say is that we can build community. Community must be built by us. Just to mention that I'm the former youth lead for Chawama constituency. Yes. I've been working in Chawama constituency for 5 years now, so I know exactly how the community operates. And I've done a lot of community projects under the Lusaka City Council, where I was given a grant by the mayor of Lusaka under philanthropic grants to run a climate justice. So community must be built, but it only built if those who want to build are willing, and those who want to stay in the building are willing to build the building with those who are building. Thanks.
You're quite an interesting individual, and to say the least, I have had a beautiful session with you.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much for coming. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's show. Catch us next week. Are we having next week? Yeah, I think we are. We're having another session of Campus Chronicles on Monday, right here, 91.7 UNZA Radio. It has been your host, Jay. Thank you so much for joining.